Hey folks, welcome to No Bones About Wrestling. I'm your host Asa, and I'm here with Kay Fabulous.
Hey.
And this is AEW Weekly, your weekly dose of all things AEW, match results, rankings, some comedy, some drama, some suspense, some, what else have we got? Some news, some rumors. All sorts of things coming up for you. So let's jump right into it with some match results. And we'll talk about AEW Dynamite from October 10th. And they were in Independence, Missouri.
It's a cool name for a town.
It is, yeah. It's a little town in the shadows of Kansas City, as they said. Because some of the performers kept referring to the town as Kansas City.
Oh, because they didn't know where they were.
Kinda. I mean, the market is Kansas City,
Yeah.
But they were in Independence, Missouri. Were I a performer, I would refer to it as Missouri. I'd be precise. Because we're in Missouri, and whatever. So Christian, the TNT champion, he starts the show from the truck. He's in the production truck, calling the guys in the truck, assholes and this and that. And he's there because he wants to watch the number one contender for the TNT title match between Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. And I don't know why he has to be in the truck.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's just because he's a prick.
Yeah. Is he?
He wants to see like 6 different views of it, I guess. I don't know. So we start out with Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. I don't know how they determined these guys are the top 2 contenders, but they did.
Awesomeness ratings.
So if you're picking the top 2, I don't know.
These would definitely be on my list.
Well, Bryan Danielson, I think, is more of the world title scene. He hasn't held any belt in AEW.
Neither is Swerve Strickland.
Swerve Strickland was a tag team champion with Keith Lee.
Oh, I don't count that.
And they were the world tag team champions.
For like a week, weren't they?
It was longer than that.
Felt like a week. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Danielson, I don't believe has held any belt. Has he?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's had any belt.
He's had some dances with the title.
Some dances. So, match had some punishing moves by Swerve. He was working over Danielson's back. Danielson, of course, got his yes kicks in. And the yes kicks ended on Swerve Strickland's head. And Danielson got a 2 count out of that. And this crowd, they were hot. They were on every move, every kick, every punch. I mean, this was a great match.
And they were on Swerve's side.
They kind of were on Swerve's side, yeah.
I was surprised. I mean, I was on Swerve's side, but I didn't expect to be in the majority.
Yeah, I was not. But I like Swerve, but I wasn't for him here. We saw a super back suplex by Danielson. We saw a house call and then a stomp for a 2 count by Swerve.
What's a house call?
I'm not sure. I wrote it down though.
Okay.
We can look it up, but I'm not sure. It's a move he does. I didn't write down what it was. I just wrote down that he did it. So I knew at the time, but I no longer know.
That's fine.
But he hit a stomp after it, got a 2 count. Danielson hit a Boo Psycho knee. I know what that is. It's when he runs at you with the knee attack. And after the Boo Psycho knee, Danielson got a 3 count, and he got the win, became the number 1 contender to Christian's TNT title. This match was excellent. Do you have any notes before I give my rating of it?
Oh, I'm looking at my notes. Dynamite.
Danielson.
Hangman stops.
No, Danielson versus Strickland.
Yeah, let me finish my sentence. Hangman stops Swerve from cheating during this match.
think you might be on the wrong match.
Dynamite 10-10.
Okay.
Title Tuesday.
Okay.
Hangman stops Swerve from cheating.
Okay.
He steals Prince Nana's crown out of his hands and prevents him from hitting Danielson in the head with it.
Okay.
I feel like that's worth noting.
It is.
Because it's a thing that happened.
Okay.
That's my only note.
That's your only note?
My only note from the match, yes.
So that did happen. So Swerve was not allowed to cheat. So he did lose, in fact. But this match was excellent. 4.5 bones out of 5. Just a terrific match, seeing Danielson become the number 1 contender to the TNT title.
Yeah. And I just feel like it's worth noting the Hangman thing, because Hangman has a match later in the card, and that might come into play later on.
Yeah.
In the evening.
He's facing Jay White later on in the card. And this was also worth noting, the 10-10 reminded me, this was Tony Khan's birthday. But also, it was, this was the night that Dynamite was on a Tuesday. So, Dynamite went head-to-head with NXT.
It went head-to-head with FNXT is what I'm going to call it. Yeah, fake NXT.
Well...
It's like NXT on steroids.
Well, NXT, they supposedly, on their scripts, every episode has a name. Mm-hmm. Which I think I'm going to start doing for our show here. But every episode has a name. Okay. And supposedly the name of that episode was NXT Mania.
Yeah, I believe it.
So they knew, yeah. So that, there was a ratings war. WWE wanted to show them that they could, their developmental show could beat them in the ratings. And they showed them. They did. They beat them by 300,000 viewers, I think, at least.
But again... That was not their developmental show.
Right. It had John Cena on it. It had The Undertaker returning. It had Asuka wrestling. So, yeah, it was not...
It was just a bunch of bullshit added to it is what it was.
Well, they won the ratings, so that's what they were trying to do.
But they cheated.
They didn't cheat.
They didn't put their product up against it. They put a fake product. No, they didn't.
They did.
Their normal product? No.
Not a normal product, but they did it. They won the ratings.
Even though they called this Title Tuesday, I feel like this was a pretty normal episode of AEW. Maybe slightly beefed up.
No, it was beefed up, yeah. I mean, look, Danielson versus Strickland for number 1 contendership to the TNT title. Yeah. Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Ray Phoenix versus Orange Cassidy for the international title. Wardlow versus Matt Sydal. Okay, that's a nothing match. Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. Saraya versus Hikaru Shida for the women's title. Adam Copeland versus Luchasaurus. That's like a pay-per-view, except for the Wardlow match.
They called it Title Tuesday, but there were only 2 title matches.
Okay, that's... yeah, that might have been a misstep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
There's still 2 title matches.
I feel like that's not...
indicative?
No, I feel like it's not indicative of a typical episode of Dynamite.
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
I feel like this was a normal episode of Dynamite. Like, I feel like if you had told me that it wasn't called Title Tuesday and this happened on a Wednesday, I'd be like, oh, good episode of Dynamite. I wouldn't be like, whoa, this is the best episode of Dynamite ever. They totally stacked the card.
I hear you.
Dynamite's always good.
Not always.
Almost always.
Almost always. It's like 95%, I'd say. It's probably higher than
97.
That. It's like 97%, yeah. There's only been really like 4 episodes I've not liked, really. Probably like 4 or 5 in the 4 years that they've been doing it. Yeah. Maybe it's like 1 a year.
For me, I'd say there's been 2, but I also didn't watch it from the beginning, so...
So Danielson becomes number 1 contender. I don't know why they're making Danielson number 1 contender to the TNT title. He's, one of, if not the best wrestler in the world. He should be, in world title contention. It just seems odd.
Well, they already did MJF versus Danielson, and both of them are faces now.
Yeah.
So he's not in that title scene.
Yeah.
For a reason.
TNT, I guess they're trying to make it the number 2 title. Or it is the number 2 title.
No, they're trying to make it the number 2.
With Christian has it.
Yeah.
Adam Copeland's going for it. Brian Danielson's going for it. Swerve Strickland's going for it. It is the number 2 title.
Is Adam Copeland going for it?
He's been fighting with Christian, so I think in kind of in that way, he's in the scene. He's in the TNT title scene.
It never even occurred to me that was belt related in any way. I think
he's in the scene. I'm just saying he's in the scene. He's in the title scene because he's fighting beefing. Christian. Yeah, he's beefing with Christian. So after the Danielson victory, we saw a Samoa Joe promo.
Fancy Joe promo. Yeah. Where
he's the world's most interesting man. Mm-hmm. And then we saw Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs, of course, accompanied by Don Callis. He's in the Callis family now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going into this, I wasn't sure what they were going to do because they've been building Hobbs. They've rebranded him now, and they want to build him again as a monster. And I knew that. And Chris Jericho, of course, is a living legend. And so I didn't know what they were going to do. But of course he puts plenty of people over. So I didn't know what they were going to do in this match exactly.
What do you mean they were rebranding Hobbs as a monster? When was he ever not a monster?
He'd been kind of he kind of lost some of his mojo with the whole QTV thing and
Oh, I forgot he was even part of that.
Yeah.
Okay, good call. Yeah, I forgot that existed. I think I just kind of dumped it from my brain.
Yeah, he kind of
sounds like he's only ever had squash matches except for like 2 or 3,
No, he had a feud with Wardlow and
those were my 2 or 3 examples.
Kind of lost some of his mojo, so they're trying to rebrand him now with the Callis family as being just a dominating monster.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure where they were going to go with this match. I really had no idea. I was very curious to see, and the direction they went was Hobbs dominating Jericho. He came out dominating Jericho. He beat his ass. I don't know how long it was. Didn't have a stopwatch with me.
Uncomfortably long?
Yeah, uncomfortably long. 5 minutes.
It was like watching just this beast beat up an old man, is what it felt like.
That's what it felt like. I mean, Jericho is 50-something.
But, I never consider him old. But this match made him look old.
It did make him look old, yeah.
Like, old and, feeble.
Yeah. So, I don't think that's what they were going for.
No.
I don't think that's what they were going for, but that's what they got. Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Not good, yeah.
Yeah, they were going for Hobbs beating up a living legend, but what they got was Hobbs beating up an old man.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to diss. I'm a fan. I'm a huge Chris Jericho fan.
Yeah, we both are.
I'm not trying to diss at all. I'm just saying that's the way it came off.
Well, they didn't let Jericho get anything in. I think he hit maybe literally one move the entire night.
I don't know. I think I would have written it down maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure if he hit much of anything.
But I feel like he hit a back elbow. That's what is sticking out in my mind.
But this was a squash match.
It did nothing.
Powerhouse Hobbs won. And Jericho was totally dominated.
I expected it to be a squash match. I'm surprised that you didn't. Going into it, no. I 100% expected.
No, I thought they would make it a battle. I just wasn't sure how they were going to make 50, whatever he is, 52-year-old Chris Jericho fighting young, 20, whatever he is, 26-year-old Beast. How they were going to make a convincing battle out of Jericho fighting Hobbs. How was Jericho gonna really even battle him?
Turns out he wasn't.
Turns out he wasn't, exactly. Yeah. So Hobbs got the win there. So we'll see where he's headed. Kind of the the muscle of the Callis family as it stands right now. After that, we have a vignette where Adam Cole, who is in desperate need of ankle surgery, is at Roderick Strong's house, and he is cutting Roderick Strong's grass. Because Roderick Strong, of course, still is in a wheelchair for some unexplained reason, and
because he has a severe neck injury,
and is in the neck brace.
Yeah,
still.
He's in no condition to be doing manual labor.
Yeah, and he has the Kingdom over there, but they can't cut the grass for some reason. So, Adam Cole is.
Well, they can't cut the grass because he needs Adam Cole to cut it for him.
Yeah. I guess because Adam can do it better than the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And Adam did do a very good job.
Plus, the Kingdom are really busy taking care of Roderick Strong.
That's true. That's true. They seem to do a good job of taking care of him.
You did not use the word delightful at all in your explanation of this promo, and I feel like that is lacking.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was delightful. I find these all delightful.
Yeah, okay.
I love Roderick Strong. I love these promos. I love everything they're doing. Delightful.
They are funny.
That's my first note. Delightful.
They are funny. No, I enjoy the whole thing, yeah, with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. It's my favorite thing going in AEW right now. Don't think it's died out.
You said it's
still
your favorite thing going in wrestling right now. Is what
well,
you
yeah,
told
yeah,
me.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah, I don't watch WWE, except sometimes I'll watch a couple things, and the premium live events. But yeah, it's my favorite thing happening in wrestling. Yeah, I love it. Whoever is writing these and editing these and filming these they are some sort of comic genius, because they're funny as fuck, you know? They are funny. They are very funny. Quirky and funny.
And the giraffe, because it's the most neck strong animal.
Yeah.
The best.
I did not put two and two together.
I did not either. And when they said they have a stuffed giraffe.
Oh, that's not on this episode, though.
No, but
I
just... Oh, there is another one. I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll save it for when we get to that.
Yeah. Next up, we have the AEW International title match. The champion Rey Fenix of the Lucha Brothers defending against former champion Orange Cassidy.
It's important to note that going into Title Tuesday, this match was supposed to be against Jon Moxley, but he was not medically cleared to wrestle, and so therefore Orange Cassidy took his place.
And an interesting note about this is that apparently AEW knew it wasn't going to be Jon Moxley and kept advertising it as Jon Moxley, so they've kind of gotten into a little hot water for false advertising because they kept advertising it as Jon Moxley even when they were pretty sure he was not going to be medically cleared for the match. And they kept advertising it to ticket buyers as Phoenix versus Moxley.
Card subject to change.
Yeah, that's true.
What I have to say about that.
Yeah, but they knew he wasn't going to be there.
Card subject to change.
Yeah,
Covers their butts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but nonetheless, they were like out and out lying.
Card subject to change.
So Cassidy hit one of his signature around the world DDTs. Looked very nice on Rey Fenix. You have any notes for this match?
Mox still injured. Cassidy versus Phoenix.
Any useful notes?
Cassidy won it back.
Oh, you spoiled it. Well, okay. Cassidy hit the orange punch and put Phoenix in his signature pin, the mousetrap. No one escapes from that. And Orange Cassidy, as Kay said, won it back for the second time. Very good match here from these two. 4 bones out of 5.
Zack Sabre Jr. has escaped from the mousetrap.
Did he?
Yeah, he's the only person.
Oh, thank you. I stand corrected. Orange Cassidy, two-time international champion now. Up next, we had a Toni Storm silent picture. And it turns out these silent pictures are her doing pantomime during commercial breaks.
And not good pantomime.
Not good pantomime, yeah. They weren't particularly creative or funny, and some of the time you couldn't figure out what she was doing.
They're nonsensical.
Nonsensical, yeah. Pointless.
Yeah. And a really big missed opportunity, because they talked about how it was going to be silent, like the classic silent films, but then they didn't use the classic silent film, like, placard, of, like, captions.
Right.
And I feel like that was just a missed opportunity to, one, tell us what the hell she was doing,
Yeah.
And two, to just, like, make it, the jokes land,
Right.
Like, that was an easy way to do that, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Yeah.
I appreciate they did it during picture-in-picture and didn't waste our time outside of that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Missed
Everything
opportunity.
they've done with her so far has been so great that this really stood out as being a dud.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be very funny, and no.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Up next, we had another, kind of powerhouse that they've kind of rebranded and brought back, and Wardlow taking on Matt Sydal. Poor Matt Sydal. Wardlow came out, he powerbombed Sydal 4 times, and the referee stopped the match. And Wardlow was undefeated since he returned. All he does is powerbomb people, and the referee stops the match. So that's pretty cool. I like power bombs.
It is not cool. I hate it.
Really?
Ugh. Come on.
I like power bombs.
No, like, they could have done this once, and then, like, I get the point. You don't need to do this week after week. Like, give me an actual match with this man. And poor Matt Sydal. I like Matt Sydal. Why are you doing him like that?
Yeah, that sucks for Matt Sydal. Get some jobber.
Yeah.
Don't,
and we know they have jobbers because we see him on Collision 7 times a week,
Mm-hmm. Next, Daniel Garcia checked on Chris Jericho in the trainer's room after the beating Jericho took from Hobbs. And Matt Menard did not care for that. He kind of lectured Daniel Garcia for checking on Jericho. Matt Menard feels very betrayed and abandoned by Jericho. And, Menard, Garcia, Hager, and what's his name? Cool Hand Ange have all been still a group post Jericho Appreciation Society.
The JAS minus the J.
Right, and Anna J also. They've still been a group that with no name, yeah.
They should just be the society.
I guess, yeah.
That's what I think. And they should all wear, like, matching white outfits. That's too righteous-y, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But not like a cult, but like a snobby country club.
You want them to have a country club gimmick?
No, just like a snobby rich people gimmick. Like the society. Like high society,
Yeah?
Yeah. No, you're not down with that. What kind of gimmick do you want them to have?
I don't know. Not that.
I think it's perfect because none of them seem like they would be members of high society.
Yeah, that's why it's not good.
That's why I like it.
No.
Can you imagine Matt Menard pretending to be a member of high society?
No, that's why it wouldn't work. I can't imagine it. No.
I can't.
It's bad.
It's delightful.
So next, we had Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. Switchblade Jay White. Do you have any notes for this before I get to the finish of it?
Yeah, I guess one thing I should tell you, I don't take notes about the matches. I take notes about the stories. So none of my notes are match related. Except for the relation between this match and our opening match.
Okay.
But I'll let you talk because I don't want to spoil the match because mine would involve spoiling.
Well, Prince Nana came out and he interfered. He hit Hangman Adam Page with his crown, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay White pinned Page after the interference. And that's how it went down.
Getting his comeuppance for messing with my swerve during my swerve match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comeuppance for Adam Page.
Yeah, and they're building Jay White up in preparation for his battle with MJF at Full Gear, you know. They're giving him some big wins. There's a big win over Adam Page. Adam Page just lost to Swerve. Adam Page is losing to everyone, apparently.
Well, but not cleanly both times.
Nonetheless, losing.
And MJF comes out. Do you have that written down?
Yeah.
Okay.
He came out to demand his belt back.
Yeah, Jay White has stolen MJF's belt at the Triple B and is refusing to give it back.
And didn't give it back, yeah. And MJF, you know, couldn't beat up everyone, so he didn't get his belt back.
And Juice Robinson has a roll of quarters with MJF's name on it.
Yeah. MJF, MJF told that story a month ago, about how, you know, some kids had thrown quarters on the floor and...
That was forever ago.
Months ago?
That was months ago, yeah.
And said, pick him up, Jew boy, you know, something like that. And how it was, you know, traumatizing for him. And so that's what Juice Robinson was implying by having the roll of quarters with Friedman written on it, that he was going to do the same thing. So
I'm glad I think you mentioned it, because I was like, why does he have quarters with his name on it? Because I was thinking, you know how like Ortiz used to have socks, sock with...
You thought he was going to hit him with the quarters?
I thought he was going to hit him with the quarters. I didn't get it.
No, it was because of that story he told.
Well, I'd forgotten about that story. It was so long ago.
So this was kind of controversial. I didn't find it offensive, because it's, you know, storytelling. It's Juice Robinson's supposed to be a bad guy.
Well, it's supposed to be offensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be offensive, because Juice Robinson's a piece of shit.
So isn't that not surprising that people found it offensive? Because it's supposed to be?
Right. Yeah, but people found it offensive, well, especially this week, because, you know, Israel is under attack.
Yeah.
By Hamas. So there's a lot of anti-Semitism, terrorist attacks going down right now, and they just, you know, people just don't think anti-Semitism needs to be a theme on the wrestling show right now. But shouldn't the hero standing up to the anti-Semitist bully be a theme? Isn't that a good theme to have?
Well, plus Collision, like,
because
MJF opens with MJF working, like, in real life with the anti-Semitism organization, I should say.
Yeah.
And, like, the work that he's doing with, like, athletes against...
Yeah, but that aside, I'm talking about the story here.
No, but I'm saying, I feel like those two things happening in the same week weren't unintentional. Like, I think that MJF is helping guide this story, and I think that he wanted that to be a part of it. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first time an anti-Semitic move happens on AEW is the same week that MJF is doing work against anti-Semitism.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I feel like that was very intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that when Collision comes.
Okay.
But yeah, so some people found this very offensive because of what's happening in the Middle East right now. So like I said, I'm not Jewish, but I mean, of course, I can be offended on their behalf. You don't have to be Jewish to be offended by things. No, I didn't find it offensive. Like I said, the whole deal is Juice Robinson's a bad guy. He does bad things. Our hero, MJF, is a good guy. And now he's standing up to the anti-Jewish bully. That's the story. So I don't know if people can't understand that. I don't know. They're just saying not now, but it's saying, I'm saying now more than ever. This is when you should have stories about standing up to the anti-Jewish bullies, because that's what's happening in the Middle East, is a bunch of anti-Jewish bullies getting their dicks hard and going around, and don't make that face at me. That's what's happening, is a bunch of anti-Jewish bullies are getting their dicks hard and going around and bombing the Jews, and they won't leave these poor people alone. That's what's happening over in the Middle East right now. So this is a time to tell the stories about people who are mean to the Jews, like Juice Robinson is being. This is the time to tell those kind of stories. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think so?
I don't disagree with everything you're saying. I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, that's my take on it. So after that, they did Act 2 of the Tony Storm thing.
Just as terrible as Act 1.
And I have nothing new to say about it. Yeah.
As Act 1.
I have nothing new to say about it. No, it was the same as Act 1.
It told no story.
Yeah. Nothing accomplished.
And
It wasn't funny.
It told no story very poorly.
Yeah. So, two missed opportunities. And then we had an AEW Women's World Title match. The Women's World Champion, Saraya, taking on Hikaru Shida. So, Ruby Soho, she dresses as a ninja. And she comes out of the crowd.
She's not dressed as a ninja?
She's dressed as a ninja.
She was supposed to be one of the, camera crew people that dress in all black and,
no,
cover
she
their
had
heads.
Everything except her eyes covered. She was dressed as a ninja.
Yeah, sometimes their camera people cover their heads with those things.
She was dressed as a ninja.
She was dressed as a cameraman.
Okay, well, I think she was dressed as a ninja. She came and she tried to spray Sheeta with the green spray paint, but Sheeta reverses it, sprays it into Soho's eyes, and then out comes Tony Storm to chase away her outcast teammate, Ruby Soho.
It's not her teammate anymore. She's not part of the Outcasts anymore.
It's very confusing.
It's not. She's not her teammate.
They're not in the Outcast.
No.
Tony Storm is not in the
Outcasts. Saraya and Ruby Soho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she does that. And back in the ring, Saraya makes a pin attempt. Sheeta reverses it and gets a 3 count. Wins the Women's World title for the 3rd time, does Hikaru Shida. So this match was just okay. I have to say, unfortunately. Shida was good. Saraya, not so much. So this one I gave 3 bones out of 5. It was just okay. It wasn't atrocious or anything, but like I said, it was just okay.
Did you give bone ratings for the other matches?
Well, yeah, I did.
Oh.
I didn't for Jericho versus Hobbs because it was a squash.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
And I did for Danielson and Swerve. That was 4.5 bones out of 5. Phoenix and Cassidy was 4 bones out of 5. Hangman Adam Page and Jay White, 4 bones out of 5.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't remember you saying those.
Yep. So Shida, 3-time Women's World Champion.
First ever.
First ever, 3-time, yeah. So that's pretty cool. We'll see how her 3rd reign goes. Back in the back part of the arena, MJF calls Adam Cole, to kind of talk about what went down with the Bullet Club Gold. Of course, Adam Cole is still at Roderick Strong's house, and we're told that it doesn't have good cellular reception. Mm-hmm. And it has spotty cell phone service. And so he makes this call, and, he can't get Adam on the phone. So MJF has to deal with his problems himself, for the night at least. Next, we get a Christian Cage promo. And after that, the night's main event, Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge in WWE, his first match with AEW as he fights Luchasaurus. And this is another one. Talk about, the old guy taking on the big, monster, mm-hmm. like Jericho versus Hobbs. But this time we had Copeland versus Luchasaurus.
This one a little better for Edge, though.
Yeah, but Luchasaurus dominated the
mm-hmm.
first 7 minutes, 7 minutes of the match.
I think there were 3 times during this match where I said out loud, they're not really going to make Edge lose this match, right?
Yeah.
It was like, I thought there was no way in hell. But he was getting his butt kicked, like, so vehemently that I thought that it was going to not be possible for him to make a believable comeback.
Yeah. But he did. Mm-hmm. He made the comeback. He won with a spear for the pinfall.
Can we not get him a new move now that he's in a new company?
Yeah, that's a lame...
Let's get rid of that spear.
That's a lame finisher. Unless you're Goldberg, man, that's a lame finisher. I don't buy it.
Unless you're a former, NFL football player.
Exactly.
That should not be your move.
Yeah,
or Rhea Ripley. No, that should not be your move.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And especially if you're Ricky Starks spearing people. Fucking give me a break.
It's like a skeleton. It's like getting hit with a skeleton.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't buy it. So after the match, there is a melee. Adam Copeland's fighting. Luchasaurus is fighting. Christian comes down. He's fighting people. Nick Wayne comes down. He's fighting. The Blackpool Combat Club come down. They are fighting. Hangman Adam Page comes down. He's fighting. Swerve and Prince Nana come down. Nana is not fighting, but he's supporting Swerve, who is fighting. The Gates of Agony come down. They're fighting. It is a fucking wild finish. It's by far the most exciting part of the show. I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they really, hyped up this Dynamite, and it was good, but it wasn't, everything they hyped it up to be. They really hyped it up as we have a great Dynamite, and we're gonna show WWE who's who and what's what.
I thought it was great, except for the Jericho Powerhouse Hobbs match.
I mean, it was
and the Wardlow match.
It was very good, but as you said before, it was like a normal episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, but normal episodes of Dynamite are usually really good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was good. But as I said, this fight was the most exciting part of the show, right?
I know, I really liked that opening match. Swerve Strickland and Danielson. Yeah. I was very into that. Mm-hmm. No, I guess as far as excitement level goes, the end of the show would beat that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how we go off the air with a huge melee going on, and we have some stories going on here in AEW. It's nice. Most matches still get put on with no story. For instance, Saraya versus Hikaru Shida, women's world title match put on with no story.
Well, that's because it's women. Women have no story.
Hangman Adam Page and Jay White, no story. Mm-hmm. Wardlow and Matt Sydal, no story. Rey Fenix and Orange Cassidy, no story.
What's the rematch? For you never had a rematch for the belt.
Okay, but give me something.
I mean, that's more than nothing.
Okay. Jericho versus Hobbs, there's a little of a story.
Yeah, the Don Callis family.
Danielson versus Strickland, no story. You know? I mean, this is what AEW is failing at right now. This is...
No, but Danielson...
Let me finish what
but
I'm saying.
I'm disagreeing with something you said. Danielson and Swerve have a story. It's that they're both vying for the number one contender spot.
That's not a story.
It's a situation.
It's a situation. It's not a story.
But I mean, it's a reason for the match. You're saying there was no reason for it.
I'm saying there's no reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
the
not
reason.
a story. It's not a story.
I feel like it's a more
saying
valid
these
reason
guys
than
are
a
the
story.
top two contenders is not a story.
But I'd rather have that.
That guy stole my jacket. That's a story.
Wouldn't you rather have these guys are the number one contender or fighting for the number one contender spot over that guy stole my jacket?
No.
What?
No.
What?
You can do both. That's the thing with wrestling. You can and should do both.
We're number one contenders, and he stole my jacket.
And then Swerve steals your jacket. Yeah.
I disagree.
And then there's a story. Now you got a matchup because you're two top contenders, and the dirty heel has done something to you. Yeah. Or whatever. He steals Bryan Danielson's favorite, plant or something, from his house. He steals the plant that Bryan Danielson sings to during the day.
Oh my God.
Then you got a story. And this is what AEW is failing at right now. They're failing to me at it. And this is why so many of their matches, I mean, they have amazing athletes, amazing wrestlers, a fantastic roster of men, and so many of their matches don't feel engaging. And it's because they don't bother to have a story. They just say, hey, this guy and this guy are awesome. Let's put them in a match. And that's not enough. That's not enough.
It's enough for me.
If you're awesome, if you're, really awesome, it can be enough. If you're, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, okay, that can be enough.
Yeah.
But aside from being like the best in the world, it's not enough. You need more. You need some attempt at a story. I
know that I am not in the majority, but I don't agree with you. And I mean, are we talking about this now, or are we saving this for topic of the week? Because our topic of the week is about stories.
Is it?
Yeah.
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
I was just wanting to point out how many lacked a story on that show. We're going to Collision.
Okay.
October 14th in Toledo, Ohio. Home of the minor league baseball Toledo Mud Hens.
That's a random fact.
Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I know about Toledo. Adam Copeland comes out and says, he's glad he's back. That whole thing. He's still on his I'm glad I'm here tour.
He's on the CM Punk welcome tour.
Yeah. And then TNT champion Christian comes out with a security team and Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. And they have a verbal sparring match, and out comes Bryan Danielson. And he wants to fight Christian right now. It doesn't happen. And then Ricky Starks and Big Bill, the World Tag Team Champions, they come out. And this was pretty funny. Ricky Starks tells Edge, he says, don't look at me with those bug eyes. And Edge, I guess, takes offense to it. And he says, I was looking at those silk slacks, you dumbass. And then I can't remember what Stark says, but then then Adam Copeland says, yeah, Ricky Stark says, yeah, it's called fashion sense. You didn't get any of it from the place you came from. And Adam Copeland says, yeah, you just stole it from The Rock. And everybody's like, ooh. And then Adam Copeland says, yeah, you're just a midget version of him.
He actually says, you're just a vanilla midget version
right,
of him.
Yeah, you're just a vanilla midget version of him. Right, that's right. That's true. A vanilla midget version of him. So I don't know, I guess Adam Copeland took the bug-eyed things personally, but he really just flamed Ricky Starks there, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He is kind of a discount Rock, isn't he?
Yeah.
So then out come FTR for some reason. And they got a bunch of excuses talking about how they're banged up, but so is everybody else. And so is the audience. They're banged up, but they're going to work tomorrow and this and that. And they said, we don't need a rematch instantly. We'll earn our rematch. And then the security team of Christians attacks the faces. And then the faces beat up Christian's security team. And Danielson ends up with one guy in the label lock. And Christian's at the top of the ramp just staring. And Bryan Danielson is just holding the label lock on this one guy who's tapping out and just dying in this label lock. And that's how that ends. And it's just a weird way to open the show, as all these people come out and absolutely nothing happens from it. Nothing it gets accomplished from it.
Well, they start saying, like, oh, we're going to have a match, like a
six-man
match, or
like a six-man.
Yeah. And then that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a total waste of time.
And it's so weird that it ends with Danielson doing the label lock on that security guy, because he's a face.
Yeah.
And the guy's like tapping his little heart out.
But the security guy attacks him, though.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
But when the guy's tapping and tapping and tapping and you're a face, you gotta let go. You know? One would assume.
Yeah. So, nothing comes of this segment at all. So next, we're shown that MJF attended an anti-Semitism event put on by Robert Kraft. I believe put on by Robert Kraft. He was there, at least.
And Stand Up to Jewish Hate is the name of the campaign.
The owner of the New England Patriots. I believe the address, the web address is what? Is it standuptojewishhate.com? Is that correct?
I believe so. It's led by the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism.
There you go.
That's the New England Patriots owner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he attended that anti-Semitism event, and as you said, it's probably not a coincidence they did that anti-Semitic angle on Wednesday, and then they showed this about MJF attending this anti-Semitism event on Saturday.
Combating anti-Semitism event.
What did I say?
We just said anti-Semitism event.
Oh, combating anti-Semitism event, yes. Yeah. So that's something definitely look into if you're interested in learning more about it. It said, Jews are 2% of the population, but they're involved in over 50% of religious-based hate crimes. So that's pretty terrible. It's a pretty terrible statistic. Mm-hmm. So, and that is, anti-Semitism has been a problem in societies dating back to before World War I, and of course it came really to a head in World War II with the Nazis, and they weren't the only country who was anti-Semitic then. still a lot of anti-Semitic people around today. So something to learn about and combat. And I don't know, how you just try and talk to people that you know, if you know they're anti-Semitic, and just try and talk to them. That's all you can really do, really. So next, we had a Ring of Honor World Television title match. And the champion, Samoa Joe, defending against Willie Mack, another big man. There was one spot in here where Joe hit Willie Mack with a Manhattan drop, and then a senton, got a 2 count out of that. Joe hit a power slam where he dropped Willie Mack on his head, got a 2 count out of that one. Willie Mack hit a stunner, Stone Cold Stunner on Joe, got a 2 count out of that one. Then at one point, Willie Mack climbed the turnbuckle, and Joe grabbed him, hit a muscle buster, and got a 3 count for the win and the pinfall. Samoa Joe retains the Ring of Honor World Television title. This match, pretty good, got 3.5 bones out of 5. Wasn't really very long.
It was longer than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a squash match, but it still went longer than I expected.
Yeah, 3.5 bones out of 5 for that one. Next, Miro's wife, CJ, came out and said she's going to manage people. And out popped Action Andretti from wherever he's been hiding.
Ring of Honor.
Oh, yeah? Is that right? And he said he's interested. And he said, if you don't know, now you know. I'm Action Andretti. And then he returned to wherever.
Oh, it's way funnier when you say it for some reason.
Next, we had a Danhausen return vignette with the parody of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, where the theme song plays on the television on the like old school 80s or 70s TV, where it says very, very, very nice, very nice, very nice, very evil. I really enjoy that. So I can't wait till Danhausen returns.
And then it says, love that Danhausen, like love that Joker.
Yeah, love that Joker from Batman 1989 movie. I love Danhausen. I know he's a very polarizing figure in wrestling, but I love him. Love him. He's very funny to me. I think there's room in wrestling for comedy. I know some people think there isn't, but man, that guy's funny. So he can stay on my television. He's fine with me.
I also love Danhausen, but I think you love Danhausen because I think if you were a wrestler, you would be Danhausen.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I love him. Next, we had Juice Robinson taking on Christopher Daniels. And Juice Robinson, of course, accompanied by Bullet Club Gold. And this was a squash, not much to it. Juice Robinson gets the win over Christopher Daniels, who has been doing backstage things recently. He's not been wrestling as much lately. And Robinson, after the match, he cuts a promo about the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And we're doing the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. And he's in it, and he very much wants to win the Battle Royal so he can face MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So we'll see if Robinson can do it.
So, is this how they've always done it? Where the Battle Royal is to see who will face the current holder of the ring?
Yes.
Okay.
Not at first, because there was no holder of the ring.
Well, yeah, no, obviously it was the first time. But I mean, ever since then, that's been the...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I couldn't remember, and it seemed... I guess I had misremembered that I thought MJF was in the Battle Royal and had just won every time. This way makes more sense, I think.
So yeah, MJF has had the ring since they've done it. He's had it for 3 years or so. No one can take it from him. And it seems hard to picture someone else with the Dynamite Diamond ring now, you know?
Yeah.
Can you picture Juice Robinson with the Dynamite Diamond ring? Wouldn't that be weird?
I don't know. I know if I won that thing, I'd be like, let's wash that in some hand sanitizer first from all the times it's been down the front of his trunks.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody's kissing on it. Yeah.
Who's kissing on it?
MJF kisses it all the time. And then when Juice Robinson had the fake one that he got on Collision, he was kissing the fake one.
No, that's a fake one, though. Nobody's kissing MJF's.
MJF is.
Okay, just
so
him.
I'm just saying, if Juice Robinson wins it and wants to kiss it, I would definitely clean it first.
Let's see. You know he won't clean it.
No. Probably pee on it.
He probably would. Next, Nick Wayne is told that he is having a sit-down interview with Jim Ross and his mom on Dynamite. So that should be entertaining.
His reaction to that was so perfect for, like, a kid finding out that their mom's going to be at the meeting, you know?
It was, yes.
It was excellent. Very well done on Nick Wayne's part.
It really was.
Felt very authentic.
Mm-hmm. It really was, yeah.
It was like the parent-teacher conference. You're like, oh, my mom's going to be there? Yeah.
All right. Kyle Fletcher continued his solo wrestling career that he's been forced into with the injury of Mark Davis, as he beat Boulder of Iron Savages in a squash match. I really am sick of seeing the fucking Iron Savages on the television.
They've become Collision regulars.
Yeah, I don't understand. Do people enjoy them? Are they selling merchandise?
What I don't understand is for the last month, I've seen them have like 5 matches. Do you know how many Ruby Soho matches I've seen in the last month?
Yeah.
None.
0.
None.
Yeah, good point.
What's up with that?
I don't know. She would sell t-shirts. Nobody's buying a damn ass eater t-shirt with the Boulder on it. Licking ass. It's disgusting.
I need you to stop talking about that, please.
It's disgusting. Their gimmick is disgusting. Fat guys eating ass. It's disgusting.
I think anyone eating ass is a crude gimmick.
Yes, but especially these fucking ugly fat dudes talking about eating ass. It's uncouth and disgusting. And I'm sick of them. And Kyle Fletcher beat Boulder. It was a squash match. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass have a promo, and Max Caster wants MJF to notice him and to think he's cute, he said.
I love that the Twitter world is now bleeding into the regular AEW world. It's just delightful and makes me very happy.
So Billy Gunn and Bowens are going to help Caster with his manners, and they're going to help him get MJF to notice him, I guess.
Mm-hmm. In a non-creepy way.
In a non-creepy way, right. Because the creepy way is not working.
Yeah.
He's tried it many times. If you're on X, formerly Twitter, he has tried it many times, and the creepy approach is not working.
Yeah, and if you're not following both of them, you should, because it's awesome.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, it really is.
It is. It's just great.
Yeah, Max Caster is very funny on X. Up next, there's a confrontation with Jake Hager, Daddy Magic, Daniel Garcia, and Cool Hand Ange. And there's a challenge laid down for Collision.
Between them and the Acclaimed.
Right. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass lay down the challenge. It's not clear which three of them they'll be wrestling, but I assume Daddy Magic, Daniel Garcia, and Cool Hand Ange, not Hager. That's just my assumption. They didn't say which three.
My assumption was not Garcia.
Oh. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Three of them. Next, we have a TBS title match. Chris Statlander defending her belt against Sky Blue. Had a good power bomb by Sky Blue during the match. But eventually, the match was won by Statlander, who hits her tombstone pile driver for the pin and the win. Statlander retains her belt, and this match was pretty good. Sky Blue is improving. I gave this match 3.5 bones out of 5.
I have storyline things to say about this.
Okay.
So Sky Blue has been appearing wearing different makeup ever since she got misted in the face by Julia Hart.
Right.
She also is no longer bubbly and joyful when she comes out.
She's dour.
She's dour. She's grumpy. She's sad. She looks melancholy. Like life has no meaning. At the end of this match, Willow comes out, and Chris Statlander goes to check on Sky Blue, and Willow's all like putting her hand up, like, get away from her, we don't need you. Willow also has the new I got misted in the face by Julia Hart and now have sad makeup. Willow does not come out to her fun, happy music and isn't skipping and smiling. She is also depressed looking. What a weird storyline to go with for women who never get any storylines. Like, this is the one that you've chosen.
And Julia Hart nowhere to be seen after getting married in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And going on her honeymoon in reality.
It's a planned absence.
But she will return, and apparently they have big plans for her as being, part of this storyline, even though they ended her winning streak just before she went off to get married.
Well, here's what I don't get. She's already part of a faction. Are these women going to join her faction? And if so, what faces are left? She's turning all the faces into, like, her little demon minions.
Well, Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander are still faces.
That's true. Britt Baker's a face, I think, right?
Who?
Britt Baker.
Yeah. Britt Baker's a face.
That's about it.
That's about it, yes.
Seems like an odd choice.
Hopefully,
interested to see where they go with it.
At least the women have a story.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's a costume/makeup based story, which I approve of.
So I'll say that. At least they have a fucking story.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's going to be interesting or not, but it seems somewhat supernatural in nature, so I'm for that. I like that. Next, we have a short Kyle Fletcher promo in which he pretty much just challenges Kenny Omega. And later on the show, it's confirmed he gets a match against Kenny Omega on Dynamite. So we're just going to see Kyle Fletcher versus Kenny Omega, and I bet you that shit is going to be awesome.
I am so excited about that. See, just another example of how I don't need a story for a match. Him just challenging him and him accepting, I think that's great.
But if there were a story, it would be better.
See, I don't agree with that.
Next, we had La Faction Ingobernable. There's a pretty good vignette. It shows them just causing mischief. They're beating up people and tearing things up. Shows them, like, ripping up a house, basically, and beating up people.
Very, very film cinematically.
Yes, filmed very cinematically, and shows them driving recklessly in a car, and they're just tough guys and bad dudes, and it was pretty cool, actually. Mm-hmm. So they're returning soon. Dralistico, Preston
Mance.
Preston Mance, yeah.
And
Roosh and Jose.
The assistant.
Jose, the assistant, are returning soon. So I'll be very interested to see what impact they have, because not Jose, but the other three are very talented. So I'll be very interested to see what they do with them.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Do we have any face factions besides the Elite?
I don't think so.
Because this is another heel faction that's coming. We got to get some face factions for them to fight, right?
Well, the Blackpool Combat Club have turned face in Moxley's absence. People have been cheering Cesaro and Wheeler Yuta as a tag team, and people have been cheering Bryan Danielson.
People have always been cheering them. Bryan Danielson is a face. The rest of Blackpool Combat Club are not faces.
They've turned face. I'm telling you, what's his name?
Claudio Castagnoli.
Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta have turned face in the last 2 weeks.
Huh.
They've been playing face, and they've been I say playing face. They've been wrestling face, and they've been getting face reactions.
Huh. Okay. So we got two?
Two, yeah. So we'll see if they stay face, but they are for right now.
I hope so. They need them, you know?
Mm-hmm. So we get another Collision squash match. I tell you, I wish Collision were not just full of squash matches. Mm-hmm. There's so many people on this AEW roster, so much talent, and they only have, not counting Rampage, they only have 4 hours a week. Why even use it on squash matches, you know?
Well, this makes the 4th squash match this week, because we had 2 on Dynamite this week.
So we got Keith Lee versus Turbo Floyd of the Outrunners.
Sorry, his name is awesome.
His name is awesome. So Keith Lee wins with a sit-out powerbomb and a pin. I have nothing to say about this match. The Outrunners are awesome. It's a shame that they're jobbers, because they deserve the moon.
Are you basing this solely on the way they look and their names?
I like the way they wrestle, too. There's then a Miro promo where he talks nonsensically about, things in the world and how he wants to...
And the Redeemer.
And he's the Redeemer and this and that. And then basically he pulls up, the head of Action Andretti to show that he's found and beaten up Action Andretti.
It's not a severed head. It's attached to his body.
Right.
Yeah. I'm confused about Miro's thing. Every week it confuses me more. Is he the Redeemer, or is he talking about himself in the third person?
I think so.
Because I thought the Redeemer used to be God, for him, when he was talking about the Redeemer.
I think he's the Redeemer.
Because he used to do things in the name of the Redeemer. Was that in the name of himself?
I think so. I think he's the Redeemer.
Oh.
I think so. But I don't know.
Okay.
It's all nonsensical. Next, we get a Mystico promo. And Mystico is the CMLL World Historic Middleweight Champion. And if you don't know CMLL, it is, they claim to be, and may actually be, I think they are, the world's oldest pro wrestling organization. And they're from Mexico. And Mystico is coming to AEW. And he is pretty awesome from what I've seen, and we should embrace him and enjoy him.
He has a match on Rampage.
Yep.
Against Rocky Romero.
Mm-hmm. And next we have an AEW TNT title match. Christian taking on Bryan Danielson. Pretty good one here. Danielson catches Christian in his submission holds at various times throughout the match, and Christian ends up, worming his way out of them. Christian seems outclassed, but not by much, really, you know. That's kind of the story of the match. Christian hits a backdrop on Danielson on the apron of the ring. Danielson hits a diving headbutt on Christian. Hits a running clothesline on Christian. Danielson has Christian in a label lock, but out come Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Big Bill distracts the ref, while Starks hits Bryan Danielson with one of the World Tag Team title belts. And then Christian pins Danielson.
It's worth noting that Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne were banned from ringside.
Yes.
To make it a fair fight,
Right.
not thinking that they would need to ban Ricky Starks and Big Bill.
Right. So Christian pinned Danielson after cheating to retain the TNT title. After that, Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus come out. Adam Copeland runs out. FTR run out. There's a melee, just like on the end of Dynamite. There's a melee. At the end of it, Nick Wayne gets caught in the ring alone with the Faces, and he decides what to do, and he turns as though he's going to attack Edge, but before Nick Wayne can do anything, he gets, Edge, Adam Copeland, but before Nick Wayne can do anything, he gets speared by Adam Copeland, and the Faces stand tall, and that is how the show ends, with Adam Copeland, FTR, and Bryan Danielson standing tall together. Good match, good way to end the show, even with the the cheating end to it. 4 bones out of 5 for Christian versus Bryan Danielson. Match of the week this week was Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland from Dynamite, though.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So just some matches coming up on Dynamite. The Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. The winner faces MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Toni Storm debuts her newest blockbuster film. Penta El Zero Miedo faces Switchblade Jay White. Sting addresses the fans. Some people believe it will be retirement talk. Kyle Fletcher faces Kenny Omega.
Yes.
Nick Wayne and his mom have a sit-down interview with Jim Ross. I'm glad you're enjoying that so much.
It's like he's in trouble.
Yeah, I know, right? I can't wait. On Rampage, Mystico of CMLL faces Rocky Romero. They both have belts in CMLL. I don't think either of their belts is on the line. I'm not sure, though.
Apparently they have a big rivalry going in CMLL.
On Collision, Miro faces Action Andretti. And there'll be more to come, of course, on Rampage and Collision.
I wonder how that match is going to go. Is it time for the news?
You want to do the news? It's time for the news. Saturday, AEW Battle of the Belts 8 comes on after Collision, so make sure to set your DVR. You have to set it separately. If you set it for Collision, it won't automatically record. You have to search for Battle of the Belts 8.
Yeah, if you have it set to record the last year's Battle of the Belts, you still have to set it to record this year's Battle of the Belts.
You have to find Battle of the Belts 8 and set it to record Battle of the Belts 8.
Don't make the same mistakes we have in the past.
Right. AEW and CMLL are excited for future opportunities to work together. The Mystico match on Rampage versus Rocky Romero is just the beginning of this, apparently. So anything that brings more luchadors to AEW, I am for. I can't wait. I'm not super familiar with CMLL. I mean, I know who they are, but I know more about AAA, so I'm excited to learn more about them and see some awesome luchadors come through. Kota Ibushi gave details regarding his AEW contract during an interview this week on X, posted by HD Subs. So what are the details regarding his contract?
So his contract was first signed for AEW Blood and Guts on July 19th. And he said that there were certain conditions that he required be met in order to agree to a deal with AEW. One of them being that he's going to continue to live in Japan and that he's going to be able to work for other promotions. So a quote from him, "I am based in Japan and I will travel for the matches. Basically, I'm in Japan, I work in Japan, I will be active."
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And that, like he said, there's other things that can make the contract even more flexible, like if he could work for another promotion, that kind of thing.
Anything that allows Ibushi to be in AEW is a good thing. He's pretty good.
I agree.
Tony Khan has been tweeting up a storm since he lost in the ratings war between NXT Mania and Dynamite. And he sent out a tweet about when business became personal between he and WWE. And he talks about when his mother's life was saved by the Mayo Clinic, and when he was in the hospital with his mother, WWE took advantage of that time to try and poach some of his top stars while he was distracted with taking care of his mother, and that's when business became personal. So that's kind of an interesting just an interesting peek into his psyche, I guess. So apparently FTR dropping the belts to Ricky Starks and Big Bill with the Cash Wheeler injury angle was Dax's idea to put over Bill and Ricky. Tony Khan took a shot at the NXT ratings in one of his many tweets this week. He basically said WWE broke a streak. He said, what did he say? He said John Cena and The Undertaker broke a streak of, being on shows with over 1 million viewers, by appearing on NXT. And, the thing that's ironic about that is that pretty much every former WWE superstar that he has signed, you could say that about them when they come to AEW, that they are breaking their streak of being on shows with over 1 million viewers by appearing on AEW. So that's maybe not the wisest thing to have said. But who am I to judge? CFX and AEW reached a settlement in a lawsuit over Luchasaurus's mask. Because apparently, what exactly was the...
So, this lawsuit's been going on for a while, because we first reported it back in, February, on one of our first episodes. Mm-hmm. But CFX created Luchasaurus's original mask, and since then, AEW has stopped using the mask and changed to a different mask, not created by CFX, but basically is a copy of the CFX mask, and so they were suing them over basically creative control and copyright of the mask design. And so they settled.
Okay.
There's more to it than that, but that's the short of it.
So in some good news, AEW is part of a $1 million merchandise donation to Toys for Tots. So that's very cool. Christmas coming up sooner than we think, of course. So that's something to think about, is where are you going to donate this holiday season? Because if you don't donate during the holidays, you're a selfish jerk. All right.
All right.
Let's do... You want to do rankings?
Rankings.
Top 5. Top 5. It's time for the top 5 rankings. Every week we rank the top 5 men, the top 5 women, and the top 5 teams in AEW. Our ranking process is proprietary, it's top secret, and we'll never tell you how we do it. Who do you want to do first, Kay?
I want to do the teams because they were the hardest this week.
The teams first, okay. This is tag teams and trios teams. We put them together because there are so few. Number 5, dropping 2 spots from number 3, the Young Bucks, the number 1 contenders to the AEW tag team titles. Number 4, coming up a spot from number 5, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Better Than You, Baby, who are somehow still the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, despite Adam Cole's injury. Number 3, unranked last week, Hangman and the Young Bucks, the Ring of Honor 6-man Tag Team Champions. Number 2, dropping a spot from number 1 last week, Big Bill and Ricky Starks, the AEW World Tag Team Champions. And that means that number 1 is the team that was number 2 last week, the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, the AEW World Trios Champions. So you've got number 1, Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Number 2, Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Number 3, Hangman and the Young Bucks. Number 4, Better Than You, Baby. Number 5, the Young Bucks.
I think it's worth noting, since we're ranking the teams, is that how many team-based matches did we have this week on Collision or Dynamite?
0.
That is right. We've had 0.
Yeah, we have
4 sets of belts.
Yes, we have
for these divisions.
Right, we have the AEW World Trios titles, the AEW World Tag Team titles, the Ring of Honor 6-man World Tag Team titles, and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles.
And we only had singles matches this week.
Right. There were no tag team matches and no trios matches on AEW television.
Maybe on
maybe on Rampage,
maybe on Rampage,
but we don't talk about Rampage. We just talk about Collision and Dynamite. Yeah. Rampage is its own thing. But yeah, isn't that odd?
So odd.
No team matches. Where do you want to go next? Women or men?
Let's do men.
All right, men. Number 5, falling a spot from number 4. Bryan Danielson. Number 4, back on the list, Orange Cassidy, the AEW International Champion, 2 times. Number 3, falling a spot from number 2, Jay White, Switchblade Jay White. Number 2, rising up a spot from number 3, he's moving on up there, the AEW TNT Champion, Christian. And number 1, the AEW World Champion and half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, MJF. So we've got number 1, MJF, number 2, Christian, number 3, Jay White, number 4, Orange Cassidy, number 5, Bryan Danielson. And that leaves the women. Number 5, Saraya of the Outcasts, falling 3 spots from number 2. Rising a spot from number 5, number 4, Sky Blue. Falling 2 spots from number 1, number 3, Tony Storm. Rising a spot from number 3 is number 2, the AEW TBS champion Chris Statlander. And rising 3 spots from number 4, the number 1 woman in AEW, the AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida. So number 1, Hikaru Shida. Number 2, Chris Statlander. Number 3, Toni Storm. Number 4, Sky Blue. Number 5, Saraya. Those have been your AEW Top 5 rankings. So do we have any storylines in particular you would like to talk about?
Well, I thought our topic of the week was the lack of stories.
Yeah.
So I think, did you want to talk about, we hit on all the storylines that are currently going on.
I think we did.
Yeah, so you picked the lack of stories topic, so I'll let you lead off with it.
I want to hear your I want to hear your response. My thesis statement is matches are more exciting when there is a story behind them. Respond.
Well, I don't agree with you.
Okay, tell me why.
So, I think it depends on what you're into wrestling for. I'm into wrestling for the wrestling. And, I know that seems like a cheap way to kind of get out of having this conversation. But I think, you can make the argument that wrestling matches can be more compelling if there's a story behind them. But I don't think that the argument that wrestling needs stories to be compelling is accurate. I think Ring of Honor is a great example of that. Ring of Honor, my favorite promotion, has almost no stories happening. And they put on some of the best matches. Because it's about the wrestling, it's not about the stories. It's also why I prefer AEW to WWE. Because WWE, wrestling is secondary to the stories. And I think there is a happy medium there. Whereas, in AEW, stories are secondary to the wrestling. And I'm sure there's a balance you could strike there, but I don't need that balance to be happy. I am very satisfied with good wrestling matches happening without any kind of explanation behind them. I'm not happy with mediocre wrestling matches happening without any kind of story behind them. So I guess that would be my only complaint. So I feel like you need stories for the mid card, I guess, and the bottom card. But now you're making a weird face at me. You don't get what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying.
If the wrestling's not enough to sell the story of, this is going to be a good match because it's going to be an awesome match because these wrestlers are really good, then yeah, add a story to, sweeten the deal. But, why
do you think WWE is consistently beating AEW in the ratings? It's not the wrestling.
No, it's sure as fuck not the wrestling. Because it's why the NFL is beating whatever the hell that other company is that started that's not the NFL that also plays football. Because the NFL's been around for 100 years or something? And when people talk about football and they talk about pro football, they're talking about the NFL.
It's because of the stories. It's not. It's because of the stories. If AEW had better stories, people would be tuning into AEW over WWE. I promise you.
I think there are still people that don't know that AEW exists.
I promise you. Because WCW, when they got the NWO story, people went to WCW in droves. And they started beating WWF in the ratings because of story.
Well, but you're saying right now the best story in wrestling is the Roderick Strong story.
No, I'm saying that's the most entertaining to me.
Oh. What would you say the best story in wrestling is right now?
Well, if you're in the wrestling business, it's the bloodline.
I'm not asking if you're on it. I'm asking you.
Me? What's the best story in wrestling right now?
Yeah. Is there one? Are there any good stories?
Yeah. There's several. I would probably say would probably say... Yeah, the whole thing going on with MJF and Adam Cole and Roderick Strong.
So, what you're saying is right now, in wrestling, the best story is a story in AEW. So then why aren't people flying in droves, like you were just saying, to AEW if the reason why they're watching WWE instead of AEW is because of the stories?
Because most people don't agree with me. Most people think that the Bloodline is the best story.
That story sucks. I'm so tired of that story.
But most people think it's the best story, which is why they're with WWE.
Still?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I think people are with WWE.
Most people are dying to see Roman Reigns when he makes his seldom appearances. They're always interested to see him. They want to see Roman. They want to catch a glimpse of Roman Reigns when he's on TV once every 2 months or 3 months or whenever.
The custodian of my school, Keyshawn, watches WWE and has since he was a child, so shout out to Keyshawn. He's awesome. He and I talk about wrestling all the time. And he watches WWE and not AEW. And when I asked him why, he said it's because he's always watched WWE and it's what he grew up watching. It has nothing to do with stories. He did watch AEW at first when it first started, and then stopped, I guess, because AEW wasn't that good when it first started. But it wasn't for the stories. It's because that's what he knew, and that's what he grew up with. And I think it's the same thing with the NFL. It doesn't matter how good the football is in, I don't know, the XFL or whatever it is now. Like the NFL is what people think of when they think of football. Like, it's synonymous with football. Like, when people talk about pro wrestling, a lot of times they don't even say pro wrestling. They say WWE. It's like tissues and Kleenex.
Yeah, but still, I'm telling you, AEW would balloon if they would work on their stories. They would balloon in popularity. I'm telling you.
I believe you.
Because WCW,
but I don't want
WCW went from a wrestling company that was about to be cut off of the Ted Turner, life support to a, multi-million-dollar, undertaking, just printing money for several years during the NWO angle.
But I don't want AEW to become so focused on stories that they become WWE. Like, I don't watch WWE because I don't like it. Like, I don't want AEW to become more popular because they're changing their product and becoming what I don't like about the other company. Like, I would rather them not have great stories and have consistently good wrestling. And I mean, yes, there's room for improvement, but I don't think it needs to change like the foundation of who it is and how his shows are set
Well, but
up.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the wrestling public at large. I'm talking about what people want, not what you want.
Okay, but I'm talking about what I want. You asked me my opinion. My opinion is obviously what I want.
But I'm talking about what people want.
Yeah, I don't care about what people want. I care about what I want.
Well, I'm talking about what people want, is they want stories.
Yeah, so watch a fucking soap opera. I'm in
But
this
they
for the
want
wrestling.
the wrestling too, but they want the wrestling too. The wrestling is awesome, and it's so much more awesome when there is a story. Like I said earlier in the show, that you can have an awesome match between, whoever we said, Kenny Omega versus Kyle Fletcher. But it's way more awesome if it's Kenny Omega versus Kyle Fletcher, and it's he stole my jacket. That's so much better. It's just an example.
I know it is.
That adds way more to it.
Example.
It's like, oh man, he stole his fucking jacket. He's gonna get his jacket back. It's instantly way better.
If you turned it on the television and he was like, you know what? He stole my favorite jacket.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, ooh, yes, it's the jacket storyline I've been waiting for.
No, it's just it makes it better instantly. It makes it better instantly because there are stakes. And that's why. The problem with belts and why belts don't matter a lot of times, because the belt is just a thing unless there are stakes to the match.
Well, that's part of like, so it's not, they're fighting not about the jacket. They're fighting for position. And it made more sense when there was ranking in AEW. And I'm not thrilled that they've gotten rid of that. But, or like even like the tracking and constant display of like records and stuff, you know? I feel like that allowed for more room of lack of story.
For position too.
Yeah.
Right. But you got stories too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I care more about the position than the story. Like, I'd rather see a fight.
But you can have both, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you don't need both.
But it would be more entertaining with both. That's what it's always been.
I will give you, they can take away the squash matches and put in story segments. But that is all the time I'm allotting from my current wrestling programming to be diverted to storytelling.
I'm just saying, that's
why... I don't want to
why
lose wrestling time.
That's why AEW isn't doing better, because what it's always been is stories and wrestling, not in modern times.
You're oversimplifying this. Because if
it is simple. That's the problem with AEW, is that it is simple and they're fucking it up.
No,
and they're putting all this money into something that's easily solved.
By saying this is the reason why AEW is not as successful as WWE is incredibly short-sighted.
No,
it is ignoring a million other factors.
That's reason number one.
Production value, I would argue, is a bigger reason than that. Because when people see wrestling, they expect to see the production value level of WWE. And as soon as they see AEW, before they see any of the wrestling, before they get a story told to them, they're analyzing it based on the product they are visually seeing and hearing. And it is a much lower level than what they're used to. So not only is this a secondary company, but it's a secondary company that appears rinky-dink visually at first glance. And that instantly is going to put people off the product.
I don't think it appears rinky-dink. Really? You think it appears rinky-dink?
Less so now than it used to, but...
I think it does.
I think it's like NXT. Like the way their rings are set up and stuff. Yeah.
I don't think so.
You talk all the time about how they need to improve their entrances, they're like, and their production value. You are the production value person.
Their entrances, for sure. But I'm talking about if you're watching a match.
I'm talking about before you even make it to a match.
Oh, I'm talking about a match.
No, I'm not talking about.
Well, that's what most of the TV time is matches.
On AEW.
Yeah, is matches. The ring. You're looking at the ring in wrestling.
I'm talking about like first glance when the show opens.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're looking at the announcers.
Well, you're looking at the stage as a whole.
Well, they need to improve that too.
Huh?
They need to improve that too. That's part of it too.
But I don't want them to. Like, that's what I like it the way it is.
Well,
I'm saying
they need to improve it because they are trying to be number one, so they need to improve it. They need to improve the stage. They need to improve their entrances. They need to have stories.
Are they trying to be number one?
Yeah, I think that's the goal.
I thought you told me that you thought they were just competing against themselves and not against WWE.
No, I think that's their goal. I think they want to be number one.
Well, they're definitely the best in wrestling.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, duh.
I mean, isn't that their goal? To have a better product, which they do?
No, I think they want to win the ratings. I think they would love to be the number one company.
Oh, well, if that's their goal, then yes, they need stories. But that would also mean they need less wrestling. Because people, obviously, if they love WWE, don't care about the wrestling. It's like tertiary to why they're there.
No, but you gotta have stories. That's the thing.
I don't care about stories.
Yeah, but it's not about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about wrestling fans.
I just have a hard time.
I'm talking about American wrestling fans.
I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand why you need stories.
I'm going to show you.
Good wrestling is good wrestling. Like Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, to use an extreme example. There's no story there.
Yeah, but that's an extreme example.
But it was glorious. It's the best match we've seen all year.
That's an extreme example.
That and Daniel Bryan. You know, I mean, like him and Zack Sabre Jr. There was kind of a story. It was who's the best technical wrestler in the world. But that's it. That's the extent of the story.
Yeah, but those are extreme examples.
But they're also the two best matches we've seen all year, and they had no story.
Yeah.
So your argument that a match needs to be elevated by a story...
Most matches, 99% of matches, need stories.
I'm just for good wrestling.
Well, you need stories. One of the best pay-per-views ever run was the 1998 WWF Survivor Series. And what they had done was at Judgment Day, I'll take it a month before. They had a long-term booking. September 1998. The Undertaker and Kane both pinned world champion Stone Cold Steve Austin to win the title. The next night, the title was declared vacant. In October, at the Judgment Day pay-per-view, they had a match between The Undertaker and Kane for the world title, and Stone Cold was made the special guest referee. Okay? So no winner was declared in that match, as guest referee Stone Cold made a 3 count on both men when they were lying on the mat and announced himself as the winner of the match and the new world champion. And of course that wasn't going to fly with Vince McMahon. The referee can't announce himself as the winner of the match. So what did he do? He crafted a tournament that obviously Stone Cold can't ruin that. So Survivor Series 1998, there was a tournament. And it had a lot of the top names in WWF. And Stone Cold was there, of course. So I'll tell you what they did. They had the corporation, which was Vince McMahon's stable, was just starting. Which was just, wrestlers who answered to Vince McMahon and helped out his cause, whatever it was. They were lackeys for Vince McMahon. And Mankind was part of that. Not because Vince McMahon wanted him to be, but because he wanted to be close to Vince McMahon. He wanted Vince McMahon as like a father figure. Mm-hmm. So Mankind was in the tournament. So in the first match, Mankind defeated Dwayne Gill, who was a jobber. And they put a jobber in the tournament. So corporate Mankind wore a tie. That's why when you see Mankind with a suit and tie, that's why Mankind, when you see him with a tie, that's where that started. He was corporate Mankind. So Mankind beat a jobber, Dwayne Gill. Then Al Snow beat Jeff Jarrett in the tournament. And the next match, Stone Cold Steve Austin faced the Big Boss Man, one of Vince McMahon's corporate henchmen. Stone Cold beat him. And then X-Pac wrestled to a double countout with Steven Regal. Ken Shamrock, another of Vince McMahon's henchmen, advanced by beating Goldust. And then the People's Champion, The Rock, was supposed to wrestle Triple H, but Triple H was hurt, so they replaced him at the last minute with corporate stooge, the Big Boss Man. So The Rock now has to wrestle the Big Boss Man. The Rock beats the Big Boss Man, though. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Yeah. I'm just telling you the story here. Mm-hmm. In the quarterfinals, The Undertaker and Kane were set to face each other. They had both received buys. Undertaker beat Kane. corporate Mankind beat Al Snow. The Rock beat corporate stooge Ken Shamrock. In the semifinals, Mankind beat Steve Austin, who had a bye in the quarterfinals. And The Rock, the People's Champion, beat The Undertaker. So for the finals, we had the People's Champion, The Rock, against the corporate stooge Mankind. Mm-hmm. So Vince McMahon didn't want Mankind as part of the corporate team, but now he's forced into, he can't have the People's Champion, so now he's forced into putting all of his chips on Mankind, this guy who just wants to be a part of his corporation. So it comes down to, as I said, The Rock and Mankind. Rock is the People's Champion. He's become a face just recently. The face reactions, it's kind of like LA Knight has been recently in wrestling, where people are just loving it. They're loving everything he does, his catchphrases. He's the coolest thing people have ever seen. People are just loving it. And this is when he became known as the People's Champion. And The Rock puts the Mankind in the sharpshooter. And then Vince McMahon calls for the bell. And then it turns out that The Rock, the People's Champion, all along had been the biggest corporate stooge. And The Rock was now a part of Vince McMahon's corporation. And everybody at home and this audience of 18,000 people were shocked that the People's Champion, who they had become, in love with over the last 3 months, had just turned on them in his moment of glory, what was supposed to be his moment of glory, becoming world champion and the People's Champion, and had become this huge corporate stooge. And my point is, this is just an expertly crafted story told in one night. And can you imagine that string of matches if it didn't have a story behind it?
Well, it wasn't told in one night.
No, that was one night of matches that I just read to you.
I understand that, but all of the backstory that went into it wasn't one night.
Okay, but the tournament was all in one night.
Mm-hmm.
And my point is the matches in which they put the corporate stooges, it turned out was fixed. Like The Rock fought the Big Boss Man in one round. It was fixed. Triple H was hurt. They put the Big Boss Man in against The Rock. The Big Boss Man took a dive because The Rock and the Big Boss Man were both in the corporation. Just the story that they told in one night of The Rock turning and Mankind getting spurned once again by Vince McMahon and being turned away ultimately being turned away at the door again by Vince McMahon was just a master class in storytelling by Vince McMahon and Vince Russo. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was probably the best thing Vince Russo ever had even partial credit for doing. And my point is, what would this have been without story? And I picked this out because I think it's probably the best story ever told throughout the course of a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I think inarguably, probably. And if you had just had those matches just without story, that's what I'm saying. What would it have been?
A good tournament?
A good tournament, right. As opposed to a great tournament and a master class in storytelling. Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is that the story that they told made that so much more awesome than it would have been if it didn't have a story. That's my point.
Yeah, but I feel like, you can make the point that great stories are going to make good matches even better.
Right, that's my point.
But my point is that great matches don't need good stories. That they can be great without a story. Which is also true, because I have examples of that, and you have an example of the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's definitely true, but every match isn't going to be a great match.
I know, and every story is not going to be a great story.
Right, but that's why you need stories, because every match isn't a great match. Most matches aren't great matches. Most matches aren't Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay.
I just feel like if you're a wrestling company, your goal should be great matches.
And it should be, yeah, definitely.
And that should be the focus more than great stories.
I think it should be both.
I think there's room for it to be both, but I think Tony Khan can't do all that by himself. So if he wants to even enter the realm of being a good storyteller, let alone a great storyteller, he needs to hire some help.
No, I agree. Yeah. He definitely needs help.
Send him your resume.
Okay. But I guess we'll just agree to disagree about the story thing. We'll have to.
I'm super stubborn, so that's probably for the best.
Yeah, that's how most of our arguments will end. Yeah. So, well, folks, what?
I was gonna say, folks, if in the comments you want to put if you think there needs to be more of a focus in AEW and storytelling.
Yeah, tell us.
Or let us know. Or let us know your thoughts in general.
Let us know your thoughts in general. Or if you want to share some of your favorite wrestling stories like I did, let us know.
Or your favorite storyless wrestling matches.
Or your favorite matches that had no story, right. Do that too. Let us know. Talk to us. We'll talk back. This has been No Bones About Wrestling, AEW Weekly. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. Hopefully you learned a little something. Hopefully you laughed a little. Hopefully you cried a little, but hopefully you didn't cry.
I'm crying a little bit.
Oh. So thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell your loved ones to subscribe. And like. And what?
Rate us.
And rate us. And rate us and 5 stars, 5 bones, whatever they'll let you rate us. 5 pumpkins.
And feel free to check out our other YouTube content. We have an unboxing of the latest AEW All Elite crate that came out just last week. We also have our latest Halloween Havoc 1993 watch-along, which is up and available for your viewing pleasure.
Yeah, we have some other Halloween Havoc watch-alongs from this month.
And we have an upcoming one.
We have an upcoming one on October 29th, I believe. That's not official yet, so don't mark your calendar just yet.
Sorry, I thought that was official, sorry.
But I believe we're doing one October 29th. Anyways, thanks very much for listening. As Mick Foley would say, have a nice day. Bye.